Today I wanted to kind of speak about something that not all startups go through. We definitely went through it, and maybe someone like might be going through it and might kind of want to know how other people are dealing with it. And so I think one of the things that keeps me going in like life and in all my ventures is that I like genuinely believe I'm not the first one to go through things, and it really helps me because then I know someone has conquered it somewhere around the world. And I Google a lot, I read a lot, I just try to find out how people have solved problems that I may currently be having. And the one that I want to speak to today, I tried to look for a definition for it or like a name. I couldn't find one. So I also couldn't like come up with one. But it's basically the whole concept of when you've been working so hard for something and it happens and then you just feel flat like soon afterwards. And I want to speak about this in the wake of yesterday, the 1st of February, which was actually Uplan's first birthday. Uplan was like started on the 1st of February 2019. And since then, like, we'd been working a lot to start getting our listings and to just like get things going and everything, such that by the time we actually launched in November, we literally worked ourselves out. We were so tired, and we pushed and pushed and pushed to reach our goal before the end of the year, and we were so excited and everything. And after that, it was just like now what? And that feeling, that now what feeling, is kind of what I want to address. And I mean, we felt the now what feeling with like, what do we do next? How do we push? Where do we get our momentum? Because before, our momentum was like, launch. And then now that we launched, our momentum was like, sorry, people are looking at me taking videos. Now that our momentum was like launch, people now were like, okay, what are we going for next? What's the goal? And we just, like, in moments like that, you need to be really careful that you don't end up just chasing like targets and chasing goals, but trying to build something long term. I mean, if that's your vision, our vision is to build something that is sustainable, that is long term, and yeah, like that serves more people than just like the direct market or the market that we're currently serving. So one of the things that we did is that we did a lot of planning, we did a lot of thinking, we did a lot of resting. I should start that. We did a lot of resting because we pushed ourselves so hard to get to that goal. When we got there, we celebrated, then we rested, and then we started planning again. We got a new team member as well. We went through like a proper process of hiring someone again, and we got a new team member because we just wanted, fresh energy as well, and just fresh ideas for the next step of our business. So, I think like this next phase was definitely unplanned for. We didn't know what would happen after we launch. And I think that's like, in hindsight, I'll definitely plan more for that. That like after a certain stage, always have like a vague plan of what you're going to do next, because I think that also kind of delayed us in like taking action. The fact that we now actually had to start planning from like scratch. But yeah, I mean, things are moving now, and I mean, we're just working day by day and just always giving our best.
Hi everyone, I hope you're well. I try to film my videos in real time. I mean, I might post it a bit later, but I try to do that so that they're as authentic as possible and they just capture like the moment. But yeah, today I just wanted to speak about like frustrations, being let down. Because I'm feeling quite let down now. So obviously, like, as you work on building a project, a startup, organization, there'll be points where you partner with other people, or maybe you also have other commitments, I don't know, but you will have to partner with other people. So currently there are projects that I'm partnering with other people, 3 other people, and like they all seemed to not do their part like on the same day. I guess someone could say that's a risk of having quite a few partners on like aspects of a project or whatever. But I mean, you need partners sometimes. You don't always have the know-how. So obviously I'm quite disappointed. if it had been one, it would obviously have been better to manage than three. So yeah, I'm a bit annoyed, and I am actually choosing to kind of relax. So I think I'm gonna watch something on Netflix for a while, and then if I still have energy after that, I'll go back. Otherwise I'll just like sleep on it and handle it tomorrow. But if there's one thing that I've learned is that mishaps happen. They happen all the time. You can't avoid it, because again, you're working with people and they have their own things going on as well. But how you handle it is something you can really control. You don't want to burn bridges over a mishap, and you don't want to treat a mishap like it's everything. I honestly believe that there is life after mishaps, and I prefer to, even though I couldn't control it the way it happened, I prefer to then control it from the moment that I can. So in this instance, it's like allowing it to do its thing while I kind of relax and gather my mind and kind of obviously think about how best to deal with it. I used to deal with things in a very rash manner, like I just try find a solution and implement it and go. I realized that, the more responsibility that fell on me, I realized how irresponsible that was. Because if you're leading a team or you're leading something, you can't always just make the final call. There's other factors that you have to consider. And also sometimes your instinct, the first decision that comes to mind might be framed by like certain biases and assumptions that may not be true for that instance. Like each case is different. So it might not be the best solution. It might be a good solution, but it might not be the best. And sometimes when a mishap happens, you want your next move to be the best move you can make. You don't just want to move. So yeah, I honestly prefer to obviously not like take my time. I'm not going to let it chill for like weeks or even days. Like I'm going to deal with it like later or tomorrow. But I'm going to deal with it once I'm a bit more like relaxed and not as annoyed. Also another thing, like I said, you don't burn bridges over a mishap, because also you make mistakes sometimes. I know that I also do make mistakes. That doesn't mean though that I'm not allowed to get like annoyed like I am now. I am annoyed, but I prefer again to just relax and then speak to the people when I'm like better, because I wouldn't want to accidentally like say something that I would regret. In essence, I think leadership, leading a project, leading an organization, basically taking the reins of something, you need to just be able to manage your emotions. And it doesn't mean that you need to act a certain way or whatever, but just means that if you're working with people, you need to be able to consider all parties involved or efforts that have been put in, and not just like efforts put in this moment. So in this case, I did my section and the other sections were not done, which is what is making me annoyed. But it's not to say that now I must forget all the previous efforts that were done. We don't work in silos. Anyway, I'm not rambling. But I actually feel a bit better after like speaking about it. But yeah, mishaps happen. We're grown, we can deal with it, and everything will be alright. I know everything will be alright.
So this week I wanted to speak about like sharing information, and I think the best place to start is kind of like why I decided to make these videos. So I've always struggled to really find like a true example of someone who's like starting a business from scratch and also like who's running a business in Africa. And it's just something that I just thought would be helpful. Also kind of hoping that inspires other people to also share their experiences, even if it's not in business, if it's another like professional or career space, so that we can just kind of all really know like the everyday what goes down, and yeah, just make this thing less of a myth. So yeah, with sharing, I had a close friend asking me whether I think like this is a good idea to share the type of information I share, if it's not too sensitive. And I mean, I play with that around all the time when I think of like the content to share. Of course, I want it to be as real as possible, but at the same time, there are things that I do understand are sensitive to share. And I think kind of like the best way to like assess that, I mean, for me, I have a co-founder, so I do speak to her about some of the things that I share. But I think also another way to like assess that is, okay, are these trade secrets? If this got out, would I be upset? Would it compromise what I'm doing? Would it compromise my relationships, my professional relationships? Like let's say you talking to like investors or something, and you know you're sharing things that they wouldn't be comfortable with you sharing. I think at every level that your business goes through, you do obviously need to reassess how sensitive the information you have is. But yeah, I mean, for me currently, I haven't felt. I mean, also another way that I choose to assess is that, okay, if my video is shared to a stranger and like a random person sees it, am I happy with the content they're seeing? And like, do I think it's appropriate content? Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'm not really. I mean, I used to be very like, about like sharing information. Sorry, I didn't even really say it. I used to be just kind of uptight about sharing information, always scared people are going to steal your ideas. But I've gained a lot more confidence in my own ideas and my own execution and my plans and vision ever since talking to more people who are interested in like similar ventures. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't believe anyone can do something the same way that you can, especially if they don't know like what your vision is. And they don't know like how well you can execute. Execution is key. And then yeah, just kind of touch on non-disclosure agreements. Non-disclosure agreements are agreements that like they want to engage, they want to tell someone about their idea or maybe like get some advice, but they don't want that person to ever then like obviously like share that information or repeat it or steal the idea, depending on like how your non-disclosure is like written down. And I know like there's a big thing about these things in the entrepreneurship space. Some people think it's a complete waste of time, and it just shows that you're inexperienced, that you're not trusting, and they prefer doing business with people that they trust. And other people really rely on non-disclosures for them to have full confidence in like fully expressing like the depth of their ideas and the concepts with you. I think non-disclosures are necessary. I don't think like they should be wiped away. I think it just kind of also, you should also just kind of always assess like what, I mean, if you literally come up with like the cure for AIDS and you want to talk to someone about it before it's released, you definitely need a non-disclosure for that. But I think other things, not to say like there's no idea that doesn't deserve a non-disclosure, but I think you can always assess how, like, I'm struggling to think of an adjective, and I don't want to use the wrong one. So yeah, basically just always assess. And if you feel like you always want to use non-disclosures, do you? If people ask you why, also feel confident to explain why, because remember, you in any like transaction, you kind of want both parties to be trusting, and people generally trust more when they understand exactly why the other party is doing things. Today I really want to speak about something a bit more personally related to business. It's something that that comes up in like conversations with some people sometimes, but no one really has an answer. And today's just like my take. This is my opinion. But should your friends support your business? How much should your friends support your business? I know a lot of people start ventures and expect their family and friends to be like their biggest fans of their business, buying everything, spreading the news, sharing posters, And I won't lie, with some of my initial businesses, not Plan, I had that similar expectation. I really wanted like my family and friends to be all about it. But the truth is that people have their own opinions and things that they believe in. And if they don't support you, you shouldn't really expect people to support you. Don't start something expecting that your first market will be your family and friends, because remember, they're also consumers, and if your product or service doesn't appeal to them, then they don't really have a reason to support. But I know that a lot of people feel like their family and friends are obligated to like their stuff and buy it, and you actually might be a friend who feels like, oh, do I have to support this person? Do I have to share their poster all the time? I think again, it's just about having a frank conversation with your friend. I think the best default position to be in as someone who knows someone who's trying to push something is to support as much as you can. So if you can afford to buy their product, maybe buy something and post a good review after you actually know how good it is, like an honest review, of course. If you are able to share a poster, share a poster. If you hear someone talking about, so let's say for you plan, if you hear someone talking about venues and you're like, hey, I know this girl who's doing venues, you should speak to her. Like refer, just do something that you can do, but also don't break your back, because you don't want your friendship to be broken over someone who was starting their venture and then there was just miscommunication and expectations and all of that. And then for you entrepreneurs who are working on something and maybe business is slow, it's not moving as fast, and you really want your family and friends to do something for you, like let go of those expectations. Your friendships and relationships were not built on this business. So now that this business has come in to your life, don't expect people to just also jump onto the idea, because you're the one with the vision, not them. Rather, do a better job at convincing them and getting them to be advocates and volunteers to also push your business out there, but don't have high expectations that your friends and your family are going to be there for you all the way. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, these things shouldn't ruin relationships. They should rather build them. So if you feel like your people should be out there, rather go to them and be like, hey, what do you think of this thing? Why do you not fully understand and agree with it? And sometimes they might even give you really good advice on how to improve it so that the market also understands what you want to do. Because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so fixated on our product that it becomes difficult to actually translate it to other people so they understand what we're doing and how it actually benefits them. So yeah, I think always take it one step at a time, but it's just best to not have expectations and always work hard for your buck. So one of the things that small businesses and entrepreneurs do, including myself, I'm guilty of it a lot, that we do a lot of the time, is that we waste a lot of time and resources approaching suppliers without a sure plan or accurate options that can lead them towards what we want. So sometimes we're like, hey, I want a cool logo, and this person doesn't know where to even begin, so one of the things that I've learned to use is a design thinking approach. I think it's got 3 steps or 4, but anyway, we'll count them as we go. So the first is that you need to ask a specific question. So for example, how do we create a bright t-shirt that is informative and informs a stranger of what we are doing and gets them excited about wanting to ask us for more information, right? And then the next step 2, is to go all out. Don't hold back. Think, let's do a yellow t-shirt, because when I think bright, I think yellow. Let's do a glitter t-shirt, multicolored t-shirt, Lumo glow in the dark t-shirt. Literally go all out, right? That's step 2. Step 3 is now narrowing down your options based on your budget and your target market, and just other nuances that are going going along with your business. So if let's say you an optometrist and your target market are people who wear spectacles, you don't want something that's gonna hurt their eyes. It might be bright, but it shouldn't hurt their eyes. So you start thinking of things like that, and you narrow down your color options and your color choices. Once you do that, you go back to your initial question. Remember I kind of forgot it. How do you create a bright t-shirt that is informative and make someone excited to come and know more about us? So once you've narrowed down all your options, you should be able to come down to about 3 or 4 types of options that you can easily take to your t-shirt supplier, and then they, with their creative energies and expertise, can then help you make it into a great finished product. So I just encourage everyone to take some more time to actually think about what you want, and rather go to suppliers with a more clear path for them to follow, rather than just making them go wild, because it wastes time, it wastes resources, and a lot of the time you might not even be happy with the end result. And a few months later, once having thought about what you actually wanted, you'll come up with a better idea yourself and think that they weren't good when they actually were. You just weren't organized. Sorry. But yeah, so that's today's tip. Bye.